Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from Cardswire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site that covers the Arizona Cardinals. And, of course, with me is my co-host, Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site. It is episode 726. It is our Week 14 Cardinals-Rams preview picks and predictions as we continue with our death march through this season, hitting the first of two games against the Rams over the final 5 weeks. A team that is coming off of a disappointing and upset loss to the Carolina Panthers, but is by all accounts one of the very best teams in the NFL on both sides of the ball, Seth. And this Rams team can do it either way. Matthew Stafford, what a weird year when we wondered if he was going to even play. And now he's having the best year of his career. And, 2 interceptions until he threw 2. We had 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 28 touchdown passes in a row without interception until he threw first quarter picks against the Panthers. And the defense couldn't stop Bryce Young. But other than that,
Not everybody's the Cardinals defense, right?
They are dominant. They've scored 28 or more in 5 of their last 6 games. They are number 2 in the NFL in points allowed, and they're number 6 in scoring. They do a lot of things well. They pass the ball really well. They're below average running the ball, so they're not as dynamic, but they do so many things so stinking well. Their yardage are right in the middle of the pack. But what is there anything this Rams team does not do well right now?
Yeah, just not beat the Carolina Panthers, right? I mean, you look at it after an overtime loss on Thursday Night Football to the San Francisco 49ers that dropped them to 3-2 on the season. And there were question marks at that point, and I think fairly. They came back, they beat Baltimore in a scuffle, 17-3. They just blew out the Jacksonville Jaguars 35-7. And then they went into their bye week, and then they came out of their bye week, and it was almost scary, right? Like they came out of their bye week and they were just pummeling teams. 34-10, they beat the Saints. 42-26, with over 400 yards of offense, they beat the Niners. They don't play overly well, and they beat the Seahawks 21-19 when everybody, and that was coming off, the Seahawks shellacking of the Cardinals, and everybody was thinking to themselves like, oh, this is the Seahawks are the team to beat. And no, they're not. And then you get Tampa Bay the next week, and 34-7, they knocked Baker Mayfield out of the game. And they just have been playing so well. And even offensively last week, they played well. I mean, they had the turnovers. Matthew Stafford, as you mentioned, had by far his worst game of the season. But they still put up a good number of points. They still move the ball really well. 379 yards of offense, 227 through the air, 152 through the ground, scored 28 points. It was a defense that struggled to stop the run. Carolina came out. They did a nice job of being able to run the ball. 164 yards rushing in that game. And it wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just Rico Dowdle, right? It was Chuba Hubbard with 83 yards. It was Dowdle with 58 yards. Bryce Young pitched in with 23 yards. I mean, they were just moving the ball on the ground. And then you mentioned it, the super efficient Bryce Young game, 15 of 20, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not a formula the Cardinals can replicate. Like, that's just, we look at it, we'll look at the matchup eventually, but the Cardinals just cannot win a game that way. And you look at it, the big thing with the Rams is their run defense is beatable. Their pass defense is average, but their run defense is very, very beatable. And the Cardinals just don't have the horses up front to do that. And you look at the games that were close or competitive or losses for the Rams recently, and a lot of it was the Seahawks game, 21-19. The Seahawks ran for 135 yards. And then we mentioned the Carolina game. They ran for 164 yards. Like, those games are that's the one way you can slow down and beat this Rams team, especially when, like I said, if you got maybe like a C game, C plus, maybe, if we want to be like really really nice, from Matthew Stafford this last week, and they still put up 28 points. I mean, this Rams offense is just otherworldly, and they do it, in a multitude of ways. Obviously we know how much or how good they are at throwing the ball, but they do run the ball well. I mean, it's not overly efficient. It's not like they're grinding out 5+ yards a carry. But they are able to run the ball effectively, and that really, and especially late in games, that's when it's a problem, because you can't stop them late in games. They're going to have Kyron Williams that goes over 1,000 yards. They're going to have Blake Corum that goes over probably 600 yards rushing. And so they're going to have 2 guys, with a combined 16, maybe 17, 1,800 yards rushing. And you combine that with a guy in Matthew Stafford, who's probably going to throw for, right around 4,000 yards this year. That's just a really, really efficient and effective offense. And then, like you mentioned, 6 in scoring, 27.8 points per game. And think about that, Jess. They gave up 31 points. 31. And they're only giving up 17.5 points. I mean, before that game, they were even more efficient on the defensive side of the ball. In 11 games, they were giving up 16.2 points per game before that loss to the Panthers. So, and here's the worst thing, Jess, to me, and I'm interested in your take on this. Now they're refocused, right? Like, they had a terrible game.
It was they were -3 in the turnover department and only lost by 3.
Right. But especially defensively, they had a terrible game. And
so
they're going to be looking at this as like, nope, not again, not happening again.
And they need it too, because the end of your schedule for them, they've got the Lions and the Seahawks now. So you could say trap game, except it's a division game. And yes, they've got the Lions and Seahawks coming up the following 2 weeks for them, which, had they won 7 in a row and were coming into Arizona, that might be a trap game. But having lost a game, and in this NFC where it is so competitive, the NFC West, 3 teams have 9 wins. The Bears with 9 wins are the number 1 seed. Like, almost, like, with the exception of Tampa Bay, for basically everyone has a shot at the number 1 seed right now.
Well, yeah, and that loss cost them the 1 seed. I mean, think about it from that perspective, right? So And this isn't anything at the Panthers. The Panthers are sitting at the 10 seed. Basically, they're not out of it, but they need a lot of help, right? The Niners are the 7 seed at 9-4. Like that's how much.
I mean, their road to the playoffs is the division title, and
Correct.
they're a half game behind Tampa. They're going to be on their bye this week, and they play Tampa twice in the next 4 weeks. So that's going to be their path. So they're definitely in the mix, but like everyone else, like holy cow, eight wins, 9 wins. It's absurd the number of wins everyone has. You're gonna have to win 11 games to make the wild card this year.
And you look at it, and the Rams have the Cardinals twice, and so we had kind of punted around the idea, right, of like, hey, maybe that last game of the season they'll have locked up the one seed.
It's gonna matter. It's gonna matter a lot.
And so now it's like, oh my gosh, like and I know we're not focusing too much on the Cardinals, but like you look at it, and there's not outside of Atlanta, which is in Atlanta, there's not a winnable game. Like there's not a game you look at and you go, oh, the Cardinals should be favored in that game. and so, oh no, it's Atlanta's at home. My bad. But
yeah, Atlanta is at home. Then they go to Cincy and then back out to LA. My goodness.
But I still don't know if they'll be favored, especially if they're on a 6-game losing streak at that point.
Right.
So that'll be what's interesting, because this week this Rams team comes in, and it's almost like there was a disservice done to the Cardinals that the Rams blew that game, because now there's no, like, it's a lot different if you come into this game and you're LA and you're going, all right, it's 3-9 Cardinals. We got the Lions next week, and the Lions are going to be desperate, right? Like the Lions have to win to maintain their playoff chances. And so you're like, oh, and Detroit's in a battle right now with Dallas 30-27, right? And so that game next week for LA is like, oh, that game matters. But then you lose to Carolina. You lose the 1 seed. You now are, tied record-wise with the Seahawks. Like that is literally the worst thing that could happen for the Cardinals, because now the Cardinals go, oh, crap. Now we got a refocused, readjusted Rams team that's going to be pissed off that they blew a game that really, I mean, again, on paper, why would the Rams lose that game? Like, who in their right mind would have picked Carolina, right?
How many people did? And, this is a defense that also can get to the quarterback. They've got multiple guys that can do that. Byron Young's got 10 sacks this year. Jared Verse has got 6.5. Kobe Turner, not quite the sack production that he had the last 2 years, but is still being disruptive. 3.5 sacks. Braden, then there's a bunch of guys that they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different guys with sacks, and they take the ball away. And that
a ton.
They do. So they've had 4 straight games of multiple takeaways before Carolina. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 games. 9 of their 12 games they forced a takeaway, and in 7 of them they have had multiple takeaways. They have lost the turnover battle twice, and that was 2 of their losses.
Well, and Jess, you look at it, right? Like you mentioned the ability to get after the quarterback. One of the things that you look at with the Rams in that game against Carolina is the fact that you had them not, 15 for 20. And I know he took off on some of those, his true drop back numbers are a little different, but like it's genuinely wild to see it. a team drop back only 24 times and put up 31 points. And I know a lot of that was Stafford and the interceptions, but you just don't see that. And that is, again, that's not something that the Cardinals under or with Jacoby Brissett have done. Even, I mean, 24 dropbacks in a game for Jacoby is actually like a half. Like,
Yes, it is.
and so, you know, his low attempts on the season, not include, in his starts, is 31. Think about that, Jess. Like 31. That's 11 more throws than Bryce Young in that game. Like there's not been a single game where Jacoby has ever been efficient like that. 3 touchdowns on only 15 attempts. And so there's, this is a game that you look at and you wonder more than anything, can they keep it close?
And that's going to be key in this game. So coming up next on the Rise Up Zero podcast, Best Cardinals talking. Well, let's move on to talk about the matchup. What are the keys for the Cardinals? What are the important matchups we're looking at? That's coming up next on Rise Up Zero. We're back on the Rise of Seer podcast, Best Cardinals talk on the web. Cardinals-Rams this Sunday at State Farm Stadium, 2:25 p.m. Arizona time, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. I guess that if we're looking at the one sort of weakness, it would be that the Cardinals would need to run the ball successfully. However,
which they did this last week, which is, something that's
even Graham ran the ball well.
Yeah. But that was something that even you and I kind of overlooked because they just didn't do it very much, right? Like,
correct.
They were efficient, 95 yards on 19 carries. Like that's not bad efficiency at all. That's 5 yards per rush. They just, they decided that they needed to throw the ball 40 times in that game. And so, like you said, if you're going to look at how to neutralize this Carolina Panthers defense specifically, it's to keep them off the field or keep their pass rush at bay, because they get after it from a number of different positions, right?
Yes. So key number one, have some semblance of a run game. It's going to be tough because they just don't run the ball. They had a good game. They had a good run blocking game. I don't know if that'll match up, but Tampa's been struggling defensively as well. They've got to find this is a game that could get really ugly with the pass rush, especially if they can't run the ball, because this Rams team will get to the quarterback. Jacoby, we know, is tough. It's tough for him to stay out of pressure, and so can we avoid the 4-5 sack 10+ hit game? They've got like what they did last week: 1 sack, 4 hits. That's fine, right? That 2 sacks, 4 hits, or 5 hits, and so that's reasonable. But I don't think that they can get away with that against the Rams, especially the way that they play. So they need to do that. Matchup wise, it's going to be interesting to see how the corners match up against the Rams receivers, because Puka Nacua, volume, Devonta Adams, red zone, everything. He leads the NFL with 14 touchdown catches. And so, and here's the thing, it doesn't look like Max Melton's going to be able to play thus far. He's been out for the last 2 days. And I think it is, Seth, another disappointment. Like, yes, the cornerback position took hit after hit this offseason when Sean Murphy-Bunting went down, then Star Thomas went down. But we felt fairly confident in the talent of Max Melton, Garrett Williams, and Will Johnson. I believe that we have seen those three players on the field together for one whole game and two partial games this season, and that's it.
Yeah, and you can tell that Garrett Williams is not healthy this year. He's not playing at the level that he was able to last year, and that's not unexpected when you're talking about a guy that obviously has been dealing with a lot of injury issues throughout the season, and that's not a shot at Garrett Williams. That's just a reality of how the season has been for him. Yeah, and you mentioned it. I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say no, but unlikely to see Max Melton. And now, we know that the pass rush hasn't been as good without Walter Nolan. I mean, Josh Sweat had 2 more sacks. He's putting up really good numbers. Calais has 5.5, but after that, it's a lot of ones and halves, and that's a problem. I mean, Jalen Thompson is 4th on the team in sacks with 2. With 1. So you're just not getting much from these guys. And so when you don't get pressure, it's really hard to cover, right? And then it's going to be equally, or I guess not even equally, it's going to be even more difficult to cover when you're talking about elite an elite passing game. Nakua leads the NFL in targets with 107. He has over 1,000 yards receiving already. Devontae Adams as the number 2 receiver, like you said, 14 touchdowns. Like, holy cow. Those guys combined for over 1,700 yards on the season, 18 touchdowns already in 12 games. And Nakua has missed a game. So, it's one of those things that you look at and you go, okay, well, if you were able to take the pass away, could you stop the run? And the answer is probably no, right? I mean, Kyron Williams,
both him and Corm are averaging 4.7 yards a carry.
Right. And we talked about it, like they do most of their damage late in the games when you're worn down and they're able just to run the ball and kind of lean on you the back half of games. And so this is a game where it's going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals do from a strategic standpoint, because the question really becomes, how do you attack this team? Like, what do you do? Because we've talked about the offense specifically, like they're now a passing team at a historical level. I mean, they're throwing the ball at an insane rate since Jacoby took over on the season, and you look at that specifically the last 4 games, and they're throwing the ball like 48 times a game, which is just absurd. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, this isn't leading to anything. I mean, I guess it's keeping them in games, but it's not allowing them to score more points. They're down in scoring the last 2 weeks. They're unable to convert, and they're unable to run the ball or try to run the ball, and that's what the problem becomes. So how do you go about it? Well, you have to run the ball this game. Like, you just have to. If you drop back 50 plus times like you have been, I'm not going to say it's going to be a guaranteed loss, but the chances of winning the game are incredibly slim.
And it feels kind of bleak, doesn't it? It feels bleak. With that, let's move on and talk about predictions. That's coming up next on the Rise of Sierra podcast, Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web. Let's look at how we think that's going to turn out. Picks, predictions, and then the prop bets. That's coming next on Rise Up Sea Red. We're back on the Rise Up Sea Red podcast, Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web. Cardinals are 8-point underdogs at home. That is so disrespectful. And guess what? Nobody believes in the Cardinals on BetMGM. 97% of the money line bets back the Rams. 82% of the at -8, mind you, at -8. 82% back the Rams. And the line opened at 8, and it hasn't moved. The one thing that has changed is that the total has dropped since the 48.5 point start to 47.5, with 65% of the handle taking the over in this game. And really, I think it's going to come down to whether the Cardinals will score enough for the over to hit, in my opinion. I think the Rams will score 30 plus. So then it's a game of, do the Cardinals put up any points offensively, or is it going to be like a 34-7 just drudging like against Tampa Bay?
Right. And so that's where this all comes in. And on FanDuel, dude, it's up to 8.5. Like,
oh my gosh,
that's crazy to think that the lines moved an entire point since Monday for a home game. Like, and there's no, I mean, I guess you can say the Marv injury is significant, but like there's no real surprises on significant injuries. Yeah, and so you look at this game, 48.5, everybody's kind of with you, Jess. It's like, hey, if you want to take the over 48.5, you're betting on the Rams to score 41. Like you're betting on the Rams to score, let's say 34. Let's be kind. Say the Rams to score 35 points, and the Cardinals to be able to put up 14 to 17 points.
Correct.
And I don't think people see that as happening. Now, I will say that the juice for both are on the Cardinals to cover plus 8.5 and the under 48.5. So with the line movements, people are going, okay, I'll the smart money would be on the Cardinals now, but even at 8.5, just like that's such a huge line.
And the way they played against the way that they played against the Seahawks and the 49ers in their last division game. This feels like one of those games coming. To me, it feels that way. And that's what my prediction is. I think the Cardinals will score a garbage time touchdown to bring it within 2 scores, but I've got this game 34-20 for the Rams. And it might not even feel that close by the end of the game.
Yeah,
but I think we will get a Jacoby Brissett to Trey McBride touchdown at least.
Right, and if you like that, I mean, if you're at that point and you can get
fantasy playoffs, baby.
Right, exactly, and you can you can move that line up, right, and you go, okay, well, I like the Cardinals, or I like the point total, the alternate point total to be over, whatever. And
so over 9, you go to 9.5, you get even money on that.
And so, when you look at it, I'm with you. I think this one's going to be 35-17. The Rams win. I would have felt a lot better if the Panthers would not have blown that, or the Panthers would not have won that game. But
makes sense.
It feels now almost like it refocused the Rams to the point where they're like, all right, we got to smack these little guys down because we got a legit, football game next week. And Detroit's pulling away. They're up 37-27. Jess and I recording on a Thursday night during the game. So we're kind of watching it out of one eye, and that matters because if you're the Rams, think about this too, Jess. If you're the Rams and you end up the 2 seed, do you really want to play the Lions in the first round? Do you really want,
or the 49ers for that matter?
Right. And so it's like these games now, holy, like these, and not to say that, last week didn't matter, but like, I think again, last week was just that wake up call of like, hey, you were the 1 seed and had a bye week, and now you're the 2 seed and you have to play the 49ers in the first round of the playoffs. Like,
yeah, this is insane, man.
and so now it's like the Rams are like, oh yeah, we gotta lock back in because we can't. I don't want to be the 2 seed or I mean, look how like you're the 3 seed. You play the Packers. Like there's no easy out in this playoff this year, and so yeah, I mean, I just don't see an avenue for the Cardinals to win this game.
It doesn't make sense. So if they're not going to win, guys, let's look for the value. Let's look for value bets where you can make a little bit of money. And where I'm looking at, unfortunately, for receiving props, there is very little for the Cardinals. But I will take this one right now because I believe that Marr probably will miss this week. And so you can get Michael Wilson over 5.5 catches at plus 110.
Yeah, there's no Wilson props right now, which I thought was interesting, but they do have Nakua, Adams, and McBride. I think, you're just at the point now where it's like, well, what is Trey McBride's receptions totals? And you're like, okay, I'll take the over. But 7.5 is quite a bit. So I would actually probably steer clear of 7.5.
Yeah.
But I will take his over 76.5 yards receiving. Because that seems like easy money because they're going to throw the ball 50-ish times in the game.
So let me see. You know what I think might be a little here's one, also a value one. Colby Parkinson over 3.5 catches for plus 135. The Cardinals not being particularly good against the tight ends right now. Not that they'll need to throw the ball to anyone other than their receivers, but I like the low number with the high payout on that.
Yeah, I do like that too, because the one thing the Cardinals are good at is not covering open guys, so that'll be something to watch. The other thing that I like in this one is I do like, where do you go? Touchdown props. I do like Devontae Adams. His 2+ touchdowns is plus 400, but I just feel like that's actually got a really good chance of hitting this week because you mentioned the Cardinals, secondary problems, and then on top of that, again, they've been throwing the ball a lot, especially in the red zone. I mean, they're using Adams as like their short yardage back, right? And so I could see them continuing to force that. So plus 400, Devontae Adams, 2 touchdowns. It's a little bit of a longer shot, but like I said, it's a nice or long shot. It's not a bad one.
Wow, what do you like about this one? Matthew Stafford over 2.5 touchdown passes at plus 125.
Yeah, I would absolutely take that. And that's, you have better odds than that on BetMGM. It's only plus 114. I would actually take Jacoby over 1.5 as well. I don't think the Cardinals will be able to run or will run the ball. And Jess and I both have them scoring at least 2 touchdowns. So if that's going to happen, that'll be Jacoby throwing. I also would take Jacoby's over 250.5 yards passing. He's been over that in every single game. Again, I think he's going to throw the ball an absurd amount of times. The only thing that you have to worry about at this point is injury. For Jacoby.
Right.
Because
and if you want to look at you want to look at the other props, over 37.5 passing attempts, over 24.5 completions. Those all, I mean,
it seems like
take all the Jacoby passing props based on what we're seeing right now, right?
Yep. So that's that's where you have it right now. This is just, I mean, there's nothing outside of, like you said, like looking at Jacoby and McBride numbers. that you feel confident about in this game. The Cardinals don't have an advantage anywhere. You don't see where they have an advantage, and the one thing that they could potentially take, do to help themselves, they don't even attempt to do with Jacoby under center.
Yes, and so if you're looking for value right now, so when you hear this on Friday, know that the line might change because we will know by Friday afternoon whether Marvin Harrison plays. If he's ruled out, that 5.5 reception line for Michael Wilson might go up, or at least, and if it does, even if it doesn't, then the odds will decrease. So 5.5 at plus 110. We see that X receiver with Jacoby's going to get targets and he's going to get the ball thrown to him. And with they just might throw it to them the entire game because Greg Dortch is hurt as well. So I don't know what to expect. It's like other than Bam Knight receiving props, if they pop up, might be one worth doing as well. You've got the kicking props, Chad Ryland over 1.5 field goals made at plus 120. With my 20-point prediction, you can cash that in. But it's always the kicking props when you get over 1.5 field goals at plus money. That's always a good bet, no matter no matter what team is playing.
Right, and that's that's where unfortunately we're at this point, right? Like we're just trying to find the advantage place.
But yes, touchdown scorer is a value one that we can get in here. There doesn't look to be like a bunch of value on it.
There's not a bunch of value in the touchdown props right now. The one that was interesting, Jess, is Corum at plus 290. That's an anytime touchdown scorer. They like you said, they've been featuring him. He's been active in that. That's an interesting one. And then for some reason, nameless, faceless white tight ends always seem to bite the Cardinals in the butt, right? Against the Rams. So you mentioned Colby Parkinson. He's only plus 175. I don't love that value.
Plus 225 on BetMGM. So
okay,
that's a nicer one.
Better value. But Davis Allen is an interesting one, right? Plus 550. Again,
plus 700 on BetMGM too.
It's a long shot, but something to look at. The other one, Jess, that I was thinking of, Rams defense to score a touchdown.
Oh, that is a good one.
They're gonna get after it. Plus 650 on FanDuel. I'm not sure what it is.
That's better. It's plus 550 on BetMGM, so FanDuel's the one for that. I actually kind of like this one, but this one, wait till Saturday to see if he's activated. Tutu Atwell at plus 550.
Like I said, these
if he gets activated,
right? The bit players for the Rams tend to do stuff against the Cardinals, right? Like don't get me wrong. Devontae Adams is 1,000% going to score, but
they might score 4 or 5 touchdowns, so
right,
it's okay.
Exactly.
There's touchdown props to go around.
So we'll see how that turns out.
With that, we'll wrap up this edition of the Rise Up C-Red podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk on the Web. This is the last show of the week. I was not able to get Cam DeSilva on for this week, so no opponent preview, but we've got this. So Seth and I will be back next week to recap Cardinals-Rams and more. That's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening as always. We'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up C-Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up Red Sea, be Red Sea Red, and of course, Rise up Sea Red.